Hey guys, as you can see today we'll be watching a video about football game day production. Now this video focuses on a little bit of the flow of how we start the production, but mostly we're going to focus on camera framing and camera assignments. So to start the show, we start with a sponsor open, which goes into this sped up montage that I've sped up in post. But it's a montage just to give you a good idea. And then after this montage, which has some voiceover underneath it, come to an opening shot. And this opening shot is a nice big wide shot of the field, um, just established to the people at home where this game is taking place. Let's see if I can get rid of this graphic a little bit. So you can see a nice big wide shot, and what I like to see in this shot is a little bit of movement, so panning left to right or right to left. Very slow and subtle though. You can see the camera operator does that here after a few seconds. So there will be a graphic over top with Steve DeStatio, our commentator. He'll kind of introduce who's putting on the show: Moorhead, DOI, and Dragon Athletics. And then it'll be the two teams, and there you can see the pan of the camera nice and slow. You could even go slower than this. Nice and slow. You don't need to cover the whole field. It's just nice slow movement. So then we go into the booth and a one shot of Steve DeStatio. As you can see here, he's our commentator. In this one shot, this is a pretty good framing. Got not too much headroom, but he's not squishing his head either. One thing I would say about this is maybe if the camera operator moved to the left a little bit so that the camera was pointing back towards this screen here, then we wouldn't have all this junk over here that just doesn't look pretty. So keep that in mind. So Steve's going to talk for a few seconds, and then he's going to introduce his partner, Larry Scott, at which point you do a nice slow pull out and pan over to Larry. That was pretty good by the camera operator. It was nice and slow and subtle, but not too slow. And then once they got there, their framing isn't too bad. Once again, good headroom. The one thing I would say is watch your sides of your framing. You can see Steve's got some background over here, but Larry's shoulder is cut off. So if you kind of just nudge your camera to the right just a little bit, it would be really good framing. So then Larry and Steve are going to talk, and we'll sit on a two shot since this is not an interview. Larry's just a partner. So if it was an interview, then we would push in on Larry, but it's not an interview, so we'll just stay on the two shot, and they'll kind of have some banter back and forth, talk about the game and whatnot. And then Steve is going to introduce a graphic that I'll put up. At this point, that camera operator will be told to go back into the other booth and put their camera on the tripod and get ready for the next sequence. After the graphic, Steve talks about the graphic. We'll be going to commercial. So before commercial, I just want to reestablish where we are. And so we'll do some bump shots. Bump shots are just nice, generally wide shots, beauty shots. So here you can see a pretty good one. Some things to fix it would be, there's a lot of blue sky up here, which isn't always bad, but it's in this case it's not the best. And then you got a lot of fencing down here that's kind of not so good. So I guess in this situation you could pull out even more and pan to the left, because you can see we got a big crowd here, so maybe show more of the stands of the crowd. Or you could push in so that the bottom of your frame is maybe up around here and your top of your frame is just around here, so something like that. So then here is another bump shot coming up in a second. And this is a tighter bump shot, but that's okay. You see the Dragon fans, they're all painted up, which is pretty cool. Waving their flags, getting pumped for the game. One thing to notice about this shot is it's pretty shaky, so you want to hold it still. You don't want the viewers at home, noticing that the frame's moving all over the place. And then here's a real easy one that I really like, but you don't want to overuse it as well. You have to mix up your bump shots because you don't want to show the same thing every time. But just picking out a dragon flag blown in the wind, that's pretty cool. And then also you could next time maybe frame up 3 of the flags or something. But that's a great shot there. And the only thing I would say is if you could get even tighter, just to kind of get rid of some of this junk here and maybe get rid of him a little bit more. Then we go to commercial, and after commercial we will have the coach's interview, which is Steve DeStatio with the head football coach Steve Lockway. So for an interview, you want to start out on a 2-shot, and the way it works is you start on a 2-shot, and Steve will kind of talk to him, and then Steve will ask him a question, and once the coach starts talking, he'll push in nice and slow, push in on the coach, frame him up on a 1-shot, which I'll show you in a second. And then once his answer is done, Steve will ask another question, at which point you pull back out and show a 2-shot, and then push back in on the coach when he starts answering again. And you just keep doing that back and forth. Make sure it's very subtle. Now, one thing to start out with on this 2-shot, there's way too much room on the sides, both of them. As you can see, you got a bunch of dead space over here and over here. It could be tightened up a lot. The side of your frames should be just off the side of the people in the frame. Headroom is pretty good though. So here's the push in on the coach. It's pretty subtle, it's pretty good. Could be just a tad smoother, but not horrible. One thing is once they get to their final positioning, the framing needs to be a lot tighter. We don't want to see him because he's just reacting. It doesn't give us much. This is too much too. So your framing could be right in here. One thing to keep in mind is that you have a lower third here, so you don't want the bottom of your frame to be up here, because then this will be covering his face. So Coach Lockway will answer the question, and then he'll pull back out as Steve asks another question. And you have to anticipate those so that you can get your camera work going at the right time. Nice and smooth. This operator's doing a good job at being nice and smooth. Just the framing, it could be a little tighter, like in this shot. This is great framing for an interview. So you don't have Steve DeStatio in here. You don't have a lot of space over here. That's junk. Headroom is great. This bottom of the frame isn't up too high so that this isn't in his mouth. That's just great framing. If we go back to the last framing, take a look, see how much wider this is, and then you get in here and you're a lot more personal with the coach. You get to see his face a lot better, and we don't have closed eyes because the sun is in his eyes. And then you just have to keep zooming in and out, and it has to be very subtle. So then at the end of the interview, we'll end it on a 2-shot. And usually he'll say thanks for joining us, and at which point you don't have to push back in on the coach because he's just going to say thanks. and you'll be stuck in the middle of your zoom. And then we will go to commercial. And when we come back from commercial, we'll have a bump shot or two more. I generally like to come back from commercial with a bump shot. Just helps reestablish that we are back at Nemzik, Shields Field. So here's another bump shot. Pretty good. It shows a lot of the crowd, which is nice. But if you first look at this, your eyes immediately go here. And we want them to be kind of here in the crowd, right? Big crowd. So you can take away some of the sky, tilt down, maybe zoom in a little bit, or maybe just tilt down, and you would show the cheerleaders down here at the bottom, which is always good to add to the shot. Next, we'll be going to the key matchup, which in this game is the offensive line. So I'll help you out with this beforehand, but generally it'll be the up top cameras getting these, and I'll tell you, who to frame up. So offensive line, their numbers are usually in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 50s sometimes. So I'll help you out with that. This operator has a 90, which I think is a D lineman, but that's besides the point for this little film. So one thing that this operator could be doing differently is being a lot tighter on this player. As you can see, there's a lot of other players in the shot. It's kind of hard for the person at home to maybe see like who are they focusing on. So it can be a lot tighter. Remember, we want to see faces. It's hard to see a clear face from this far away. Next, we will go to the player to watch. In this game, it is Zane Medhog, number 21 here. You see the graphic. So here, once again, you can be a lot tighter, as we'll see the operator push in. You want to be as tight as you can be in this. If it's a waist up shot, perfect. There you go. That's a little better framing. You just stick with them. Right here, the operator, I think, loses their headroom and zooms out a little bit. You just gotta stick with them. Alright, so after the players to watch, we'll go into the kickoff. So this is game cam for kickoff. Pretty basic shot. Not showing too much of the sideline below them, which is good. So on a kickoff, the down low camera assignments would be, if you're on the side with the kicker, you are going to focus on the kicker head to toe because he's kicking the ball, so we want to see his feet. If you're on the side with the receiver, which in this case is over here, you'll be focusing on one of the two players that are going to receive the kick. If you're the on-ball camera up top, you'll be focusing on the kicker as well, and then you will follow the ball as it's kicked. So we can see what happens when the down-low camera is on the kicker. Here he is on the kicker. It could be a little tighter, a lot of headroom, some grass down here. So it could be a little tightened up, but it's not too bad. So we'll follow the kicker. He'll kick the ball, and then we'll go back to the up top cam as the ball flies through the air and he catches it. Now here is a part of the game that is kind of tough to do, but we'll get through it, and generally just stay on the game cam or maybe a bump shot. But what we'll do is show the starters. So after the first kickoff, we'll show whoever's on offense, show their starters, and then after that snap, we'll show the defensive starters. And it will switch over once the other team gets the ball on offense. So one thing the game cam could do here they have a graphic on is they could show the Dragon offense, because we're looking at the Dragon offense, right? Well, they're huddled up over here off screen. So if they would have just panned to the right a little bit, and got them in the shot, that would have been perfect. It's always got to be aware of what's going on. Because right now we're looking at the Augustana defense, which is not the Dragon offense. So then the Dragon offense will come onto the field, and this has to get done pretty quickly because, as you can see, Dragon offense moves really fast. You'll learn them move really fast, so you gotta get those up there and get through them. The on-ball camera in this situation will focus in on the QB because we'll get a one shot of the QB. And this is the QB right here, Demetrius Carr. So we'll see here in a second. So there he is. So in this shot, you want to be a lot tighter. Like I said, if you can, be waist up so that we can see his face. If the lens doesn't get that far, just try to get it as tight as you possibly can so that the viewer at home knows who Demetrius Carr is, right? And stick with him till you're off. Right here, they kind of framed back up. Shouldn't have. All right, so there's the first snap. Technically, it wasn't a snap, but we'll put up the defense. So here, once again, as you can see, the game cam should move with the play. So the ball is going to get moved back 5 yards. So they should just pan, with the play. Just pan to the right there a little bit. There we go. We'll go through the defensive players. All right, so after that, we'll just get into normal gameplay. So this is the game cam for gameplay. This is really good framing right here. Top of the screen, is right about top of their heads, which is good. Bottom of the screen is about the top of their heads, which is pretty good. Space behind the QB is not too much. You don't want a lot back there because the play is hopefully moving this way, right? Especially if it's Dragon's ball. So you want to give lead room, right? You want to give lead room for where the play is going. But you also don't want your back of your frame, squishing the QB or any of the players. So as the QB receives the ball, most times the game cam's going to have to pan to the right in this case, as the QB drops back a little bit. Unless it's a running play, then he'll obviously just be going straight forward. But as you can see, he backs up, now he throws, keeps the ball in the frame. And then here's the on-ball camera, focused on the defensive player there. As we can see in the replay, here's the on-ball. So the on-ball is going to have a nice tight shot, about like this, of the QB, because the QB is going to get the ball first. And then they'll follow the ball wherever it goes. So if it's a running play, follow whoever is running the ball. Passing play, follow the ball in there. And this on-ball camera does a great job here. We get a good replay, and you can see the Bemidji player makes a good defensive play. Right there, boom. So, as the storyline goes, this guy made a good play. So the on-ball camera should focus in on the defensive player, right? Generally you have a choice of 2 players, maybe a couple more, to focus in on after the play is over with. It'd be offense or defense, right? Well, in this case, the defensive player made a great play on the ball, so we want to show his face, show his reaction to it. And you can see the on-ball focused in on the defensive player there and followed him off the field until the next shot is taken. Alright, so moving forward to a punt. These are a little trickier for the game cam. They shouldn't be, but you just have to be paying attention to what's going on in the game. because the punter is usually another 10 yards behind where the QB lines up. So he's way back here. A lot of times the game cam might have the edge of their frame right here, which is not showing, the most important person on this play. Once again, the on-ball camera will be focused in on the ball and the punter. So the on-ball could probably follow the ball from the snapper to the punter, and then follow the ball as it gets kicked. The download camera on the side of the punter focus in on the punter, so we can see him punt the ball just like when they kick off. The camera on the receiving side focus in on the player that's going to potentially receive the ball. And as you can see here, the game camera doesn't really have a lot of the defense in the frame, which it would just be way too wide of a shot if you did. So this is good framing. The ball's going to be snapped here and punted away. So then we'll take a shot from down low. We got the punter here. A little bit of too much headroom, but not too big of a deal. And one thing else is maybe pan to the left, because you can see here the snapper is right here. So we want to see where the snap comes from, right? So you just pan to the left. He might be off center just a hair, but that is fine. Gets the ball and punts it away. Go back to the up top cam, game cam, follows the ball out of play. Now here's a situation where the game cam can see that the ball went out of play. So this ref here is going to mark where it went out of play. So he's kind of the subject. So on the game cam can kind of push in on this referee. You don't have to get real tight, just kind of tilt down and push in on him. People at home can see where he stops and places the ball. And then we'll cut to another shot. You can see the down low camera focused in on this is the guy that was supposed to receive the ball. Way too much space underneath the feet though. A lot of grass, just dead space. A lot of headroom. And then just stick with him as he falls off the field. And try to keep your camera as steady as possible. I know it's hard with a lot of wind out there usually, but just try your best. Now here's another shot from down low, and this is of the Dragon bench, which if I ever ask you to get a shot of the bench, I want you to, generally I'm saying get a shot of the head coach, or if there's something exciting going on at the bench, players jumping up and cheering or something like that, you can get that, but always make sure there's people in your frame. In this shot, here's the head coach, right here, Steve Lockway, and over here, we got some players that are kind of just standing there. There's not too much going on. So if I was this operator, I would probably pan to the right and push in a little bit, maybe cut your frame down so that we're more focused in on these group of coaches here. See, they're pumping them up. And back to game cam we go. So this is really easy for the game cam when the ball is in between the 30s, because it's right in front of you, so it's pretty self-explanatory framing. The one thing I would say is that there's a lot of space behind the QB here. Remember what we talked about, that the play is going to be moving forward generally. So you can put the back of the frame maybe right there. But you got all the players down here in the bottom of the screen. You can see all the players up here. It's good. You can see most of the defense, all of the offense. And the game cam keeps the player right in the middle of the screen, which is good. And then we got a down low cam that was focused in on the QB, which if we go back, can go through some assignments for down low cameras. So down low cameras, when the offense is on your side of the field, or your side, you will be focusing on the QB if you're this camera over here. Okay, so you always just stay with the QB. If he throws the ball, just stay with him. Maybe he'll throw a touchdown and he'll get a good celebration, which we can use in replay or something. So you're just always staying with the QB. If you're the camera over here, you're going to be focusing on the ball. So you'll have a frame of the lineman generally with the QB in the center of that frame, shooting this way. If the ball is handed off, you'll follow the player that got the ball. Stay with him throughout the play. As you can see here, this down low had their assignment covered, the QB. He ran the ball, so that's who I want to see. And if you can, you can do a waist up. I know our lenses sometimes don't quite zoom in that far, but so here's a pass. The game cam does a good job keeping the ball in the frame. And then, as you can see here in a second, the down low camera focused in on the potential receiver who should have caught the ball. So we want to see that, as tight as you can get. And then the other down low camera had their assignment covered, which was the QB. And tight as you can, keep him in center. So the two players involved in the play, the receiver that missed the pass, and the QB that didn't throw it as good as he should have. And there's another pass. Nope, it's a run. Quarterback takes off. Game cam keeps the play in the middle of the screen. You see they had to kind of tilt down and get a lot of sideline, which is fine. Has the play all on the screen. Kid gets hit pretty good. Down low camera focuses in on the end of the play, which, like I said before, you generally have two subjects, offensive player and defensive player, who, let's see here, number 36 made the hit. So it's a big hit. So you can either focus in on 36, made the big hit, or the quarterback who doesn't have a helmet on. So there's a little more focus on the player. The on-ball camera does a great job here. We get a good replay of what the on-ball camera should do. So I'm just going to let it roll through, and you can watch. Snap to QB, stays with QB, falls in leader room, and then boom. Then he decides to focus in on the player that made the big hit, which is perfectly fine. It's a good job. So now we're back to the game cam, and the ball is moved down the field a little bit, so it's not right in front of the game cam. So you're kind of shooting at the back of the offense, which is just the way it is. One thing I would say is maybe pan to the right just a little bit more so we can see more of what's going on over here, but not too bad. So always try to keep your camera as steady as possible. So here's a shot from the on-ball camera from up top. There's no play going on, so you can be as tight as you possibly can. Waist up, preferably. Just a lot of grass that we don't need to see. Back to game. So here again, this operator is a little shaky. You'll try to stay as stable as you can and watch your framing. A lot of grass once again. Tilt up, zoom in if you can. Alright, so here's kind of a pre-snapshot from one of the down-low cameras, which is pretty good. Ideally you want to show both of the lines, the offensive and defensive line, with the QB in the middle, like I said earlier. The one thing about this shot is a little wide. A lot of sky, a lot of grass. So if you tighten it up a little bit, get your frame kind of something like this. So you can see my mouse cursor, something like that. And it'll be just that much better. So here's another pass play. Game Cam does a pretty good job of keeping it in frame. And now we have a flag. So we'll go through the flag progression. The on-ball camera's job, whenever there's a flag, is to find the referee with a white hat. And he is always behind the offense. Always behind the offense. So he'll come in and talk to that ref, and now we see him. And this shot can be tightened up, waist up if you can. But he's gonna, tell everyone what the foul was. So we want to see him because we also have his audio. So we want to see who's talking, right? We'll call the penalty. Then we go back to the gameplay. As you can see, referee in the white hat behind the offense. So here's game cam a little further down the field. Once again, you can maybe pan to the right, maybe zoom out just a hair so we can see more of this part of the field. But pretty good. A little pass, game cam keeps in action. Right here, he rolls out a screen, so you want to pan a little more to the right. Now down low, it was on the play, so you have the person that scored a touchdown. Watch him celebrate. And we'll get a good replay from the on-ball camera. So here they kind of start zooming out, maybe a little too much. They're anticipating the pass, which is good, but you get a little wide, so you can kind of stay in there. They do a good job following the ball, following the player in, and then finding him after he scores. Get a celebration. And now we're to the extra point or field goal. This is good from the game cam. Wants to show everyone field goal posts. Could be maybe just tilt it down a little bit and pan to the left so that we can see the kicker. So in this situation, if the kicker is on your side for down low cameras, you're going to want to focus on the kicker once again. Just like punt, kickoff. But you're going to want to be a little wider so that you can see the field goal, like here. See the field goal, see all the players. Could be, pan or tilted down and, pan to the right, and pushed in a little bit so that we don't have all this dead space here. And the kicker could be a little higher in your screen. It is a little difficult to see, but not bad. So what's going to happen is the kicker is going to kick the ball, and he's either going to make it or it's going to go wide, right? Or it gets blocked. but he's either going to make it or miss it. So after that is done, after he kicks it and the whistle blows, one of these referees down here, both of them actually, are going to say field goal good or no good. So you just want to kind of tilt down and push in on the referee so we can see that. This operator does an alright job of it. The zoom was a little fast, and you want to pan to the right so that we can focus in on the ref. He's kind of just over here. Right now we're kind of just focusing in on this pole. And then we'll cut to another shot. On ball has the kicker, and after that, Steve will pitch break, and we'll go to commercial. So that's all I have for you for this video. I hope you learned something, get a good starting point for how a football production is ran here at MSUM. If you have any questions, email me, stop in, see me, just ask away, and hopefully you can learn a little more as the year goes on.